The first children's book I've chosen this week is the Where's Wally series. There's lots of them available and they are illustrated by a British man called Martin Hamford. And they have been adapted in 28 different countries around the world. The most famous is being North America, where it's actually called Where's Waldo. The books basically they're quite big, and they're basically illustrations of hundreds of different small people doing different things. So obviously on each page you have to find Wally or Waldo, and there's also other characters involved that you can spot as well. And they get harder as the book goes through, and on the last page you often find that every single character looks like Wally but a little bit different, so that takes quite a long time to achieve. Children love them and adults love them as well. Lots of adults buy them also, and they're great for a holiday, because if the kids are bored in the car, on the plane, just give them a copy of Where's Wally and they'll be quiet for ages, I'm sure. Interestingly, Universal Studios has just bought the rights to Where's Wally. They will be calling it Where's Waldo, and it's going to be a live action film, so it's not going to be animated, so that's going to be something to look forward to, I think. I'd say the age range for the book is about 6 upwards, because they are quite intricate and the pictures are quite small and the books are quite big, but from 6 upwards they're very popular. There's also a travel size one. It's a smaller one, so you can take it travelling with you. It's got about 100 different illustrations in it. I think if you're going on holiday it's better to get a few, because after about 3 days you've probably covered them all and just about managed to find Wally in each picture. Once you've taken a moment to think about it, you'll understand that having classes at night is only logical. Of course, you must know that vampires, adult or fledgling, don't explode or any other such fictional nonsense if subjected to direct sunlight, but it is uncomfortable for us. Wasn't the sunlight already difficult for you to bear today? I nodded. My Mao Jims didn't even help much. Then I added quickly, feeling moronic again. Mao Jims are sunglasses? The second children's book I've chosen this week is actually a teenage title called Marked, and it's written by PC Cast and her daughter Kristen Cast. They are for teenage girls, and for any teenage girl that's read the Twilight series by Stephanie Meyer and feeling quite upset and sad that they have finished, these are the books to try, because they're really good, quite similar. Yes, Zoe, Nefret said patiently. I know sunglasses, very well actually. Oh God, I'm sorry, I broke off, wondering whether it was okay for me to say God. Would it offend Nefret, a high priestess who wore a goddess mark so proudly? Hell, would it offend Nynx? Oh God, what about saying hell? It was my favourite cuss word ever. The storyline starts with a girl called Zoe Redbird. She's a typical teenage girl at high school, arguing with her best friend and kind of falling out with her boyfriend, so that's how it begins. And then suddenly she's marked, which means she gets a tattoo in the middle of her forehead, which means she becomes a vampire fledgling, and she has to go to a boarding school called the House of Night, where other fellow fledglings all live, and she kind of forms friends with those. She's actually got an affinity for the 5 elements, and so she starts training to be kind of a goddess, and lots of things happen. The person that runs the school is a baddie, and she has boyfriend trouble, and so although it's kind of a fantasy book, it covers all things that a normal teenage girl would go through as well. The people of faith preach that vampires worshipped a false goddess, and that they were mostly selfish dark creatures who cared about nothing except money and luxury and drinking blood, and they were all certainly going straight to hell. So wouldn't that mean that I should watch how and where I used Zoe? I looked up to find Nefret studying me with a concerned expression, and realised she had probably been trying to get my attention while I had been babbling inside my head. They're really easy to read, they really kind of flow from each story to the next, and also when you've read one book and you start on the next, it kind of covers what happened in the book beforehand, so you don't have to reread them before. They're kind of sassy. The character Zoe, she's really sassy and she kind of tells it like it is. The plot lines are really easy to follow. They're really interesting, but they are quite simple, but you really need to keep reading them to find out what happens at the end. PC Cast is a well-known fantasy and romance writer in her own right, and she's won many awards for her own work. This is the first time she's collaborated with her daughter, Kristen Cast. They both are English teachers in America, and so I think PC Cast has brought her fantasy element, and Kristen Cast has brought kind of a young and sassy element to it, and it works really well.